Good morning, my name's Chris Manners. I'm the Sales Director at TBS Boats based at Penton Hook Marina, an MDL site in Chertsey in Surrey on the non-tidal River Thames. I'm here today to talk to you about boating on the non-tidal Thames as a boat owner and approaching the non-tidal Thames from the tideway from Southampton, London or the East Coast, and what to expect and what to do as you enter through Teddington, and what to look out for, as well as where to cruise and the fantastic pubs and the places you can visit from Teddington at the entry to the source in Oxford. So, assuming you're boating at Penton Hook Marina or another MDL site on the Thames, which is Windsor as well, then there's lots of things you should know about and what to do. The first thing is your boat. So your boat, assuming you're on the Thames, is compliant to the boat safety scheme, and that means that that's a 4-year licence, like an MOT for a car, and your boat has to comply with all sorts of safety regulations and things to do. So let's assume you have that. The next thing is to make sure you have insurance in place and you're fully insured to cruise and to make sure you and your crew are safe. And then you go into the safety aspect. Although we're non-tidal, you have to take into consideration the safety of you and others, and we would always recommend wearing a life jacket at all times. But you are on the river, it's fun, you're visiting pubs, and so we say common sense applies. So although it'd be sensible to wear a life jacket, if you don't, just make sure your crew know where they are and what's involved and how to access them, God forbid something happens. Now there's lots of things to look out for, and lots of things you can do. So in terms of paperwork for cruising on the non-tidal Thames, really you should carry on board your insurance certificate and certainly your EA river licence. They're the two things that you may be asked for by an EA river inspector. Although in these modern times, inspectors are few and far between each other. You don't see them that often. You don't often see the police on the river either. So as long as you're being sensible and safe, you'll tend not to be interrupted by anybody and everybody will leave you to get on with things. So they're the two documents to carry. You can also join a thing called River Rescue. That's a good breakdown option, like the AA. Should you have engine failure, battery failure or something that stops you from working on the River Thames, they tend to come to you within a few hours and get you working again. The non-tidal Thames is very different from the coast, as you can imagine. You're stopping and starting and mooring many times, because every time you go to a lock you have to turn the engine off, you have to wait for a lock to be opened, and you go in and stop and start the engine 3 or 4 times. So whereas of course on the coast you go to your destination and that's it. So two things happen. One, your boat handling skills improve tremendously because you're mooring 5, 6, 10 times a day. But also the engine has a lot more wear and tear. So if you have the fridges running, then batteries can deplete quicker because they're stopping and starting. So River Rescue is not a bad thing to be a member of. So a few points, I've made a few notes to remember. Obviously check the boat is good to go. Make sure you have enough fuel on board. Fuel is not at every marina, so do plan your journey, plan your destination. Try and think about what the whole weekend consists of if you're travelling away for the weekend, and where you can buy fuel if needed, especially on an outboard boat, because obviously that will use a bit more petrol, and not everyone sells petrol on the non-tidal. So plan for that for sure. Make sure you have your paperwork on board, as I just said. That's very important. Join River Rescue, just in case. Make sure the fridge is stocked. Enjoyment is key on the non-tidal Thames. So having a drink, enjoying yourself, letting your guests enjoy themselves is paramount. And you don't have to worry too much about navigation because you go up a river or down a river, and there's not much to go wrong or not much to hit. So that's okay. The only word of advice I'll give you is in terms of hire boats. There's a lot of hire boat operators on the non-tidal Thames, and some of those have limited experience. So although the rule of thumb is you pass port to port, left to left, when you're passing any boat on the river, some of these hire boats may not know this. They would have been told, but they may not be aware. So you be aware as a boat owner. I think that's the best advice I'll give you. And if they're not complying to the regulations, rather than scream and shout, give them a wide berth, take alternative direction and move away from them, because they are hire boaters. They're probably here for the day and they won't have the experience you have as a boat owner on the Thames. So next I will discuss, coming from the salty stuff, the sea to the Thames, We have a lot of visitors per annum come from the south coast, the east coast, all the way across up to the non-tidal Thames, because you can navigate a long way up the Thames, especially through Windsor, which is very pretty. You have certain height restrictions, of course, so you would make your plan accordingly depending on the boat size you have. Windsor Bridge, for instance, and Cookham Lock Cut are quite low, 13 feet in some instances, so just make sure you make the plan. The bridge heights are all available on the EA website, and so you can plan very clearly and make sure you know what you're doing and where you're going. But as you approach from the tideway, you'll come through Teddington Lock, which is your first approach into the non-tidal Thames. And because this is an entrance via a tideway, you have the lock is manned 24 hours. So if you're coming for Chatham, for instance, which is an MDL site on the Medway, that's a very popular place to come for the weekend or the week on holiday, on vacation to the Thames. You would pay your river licence as you're in the lock. The lockkeeper would come to you, you'd fill in your application form for a visitor for the Thames. You would fill your form in. You don't need a boat safety certificate if you're a visitor. You can visit up to 1 month and stay on the river on vacation without a river licence. You would pay your entry fee to use the Thames. He would chat to you, give you a map, tell you what's involved, where to go, and you can actually buy extra maps as well to give you a bit more information. You'll come through, you'll lock through, you're in the non-tidal Thames, and you start your passage upstream from there. And as I say, as long as you plan your heights and making sure you're not too high for certain bridges, then you can go all the way up the Thames and get as high as Lechlade. If you're a sports cruiser like we're on today, which is a bayliner, you could go all the way up to the top end of the Thames. So in conclusion, that's a bit of advice just to help, I hope, on the cruising the non-tidal Thames. We look forward to seeing you visit us at Penton Hook, at Windsor, also any MDL site, to come and say hello and pop into the boat sales operation at TBS Boats. And enjoy the river. I hope you have a great summer. The sun is shining today with the filming, and let's fingers crossed it stays this way for a number of months and for the rest of the season. Take care and be safe.